The following is a segment from the Carl King Podcast. If you enjoy this show, be sure to like, subscribe, and send us burritos. First up, we have Emily the Criminal, screenwritten by and directed by John Patton Ford. And it's starring Aubrey Plaza, an actress from Delaware. Another notable casting choice was Gina Gershon as an evil boss lady. And I confirmed that she has 155 credits on IMDb. But I was first made aware of her due to her performance in a film called Palmetto. And that's from 1998. And it was filmed right down the street from where I lived in Florida, which kind of blew my mind at the time. I don't remember anything about the movie aside from her being in it and that everyone was sweating. Anyway, now back to Emily the Criminal. That first scene was a strong choice. Now, when I say strong choice, that's a term I heard my improv comedy actor friend Will Mayer say probably 20 years ago. I don't know what he meant by it, but I have used the term ever since. So in this example, I think the opening scene was a strong choice because it is mostly one continuous shot of a job interview, but it only shows one side of the conversation, which is Aubrey Plaza. Or it might be pronounced Plaza. We don't know yet. Now, normally a conversational shot between two people might have 3 to 4 different angles. You might have 2 singles with over the shoulders, a double, and maybe a wide double for coverage. And I'm making all of those terms up on the spot, by the way. But my point is, it takes a while for the filmmaker to finally reveal who Aubrey Plaza is talking to. I'm going to estimate it was probably a whole minute before that shot cuts away to reveal the other person. And that is why I call it making a strong choice. It's taking a chance, it's intentional, and it creates an effect of tension. And there is also an establishing shot of downtown LA. Well, this film sure knows how to push my PTSD buttons, because it hit me right in the center of my amygdala, because there it is. The exact hellish Wilshire Boulevard Bridge I used to walk over several times a day at my soul-sucking corporate job. And you can even see part of the building I worked in. It was probably the unhappiest time of my life. When I worked down there, I wore uncomfortable shoes, and I was terrified of my boss. And I looked out my office window and fantasized about a nuclear bomb going off, because I would have a perfect view of the end of the world. My point is, at that moment, I knew how Emily the Criminal felt, because all I needed was to see that bridge. Wow. Anyway, back to the film. I was definitely sucked into it, but it's inevitable that any movie will have at least one implausible moment. And here is the one that stood out. When Aubrey Plaza gets in the sports car, and there are sound effects of extreme revving of the engine, you can see outside the window that she's not going fast at all. And that kind of took me out of it. All of that vroom vroom and tires screeching, but not actually going anywhere visually. Then again, that's what Los Angeles is all about. But look, I know this wasn't an expensive film, and getting Aubrey Plaza to speed around in a sports car was probably not going to happen. And aside from that, my disbelief was definitely suspended, so much that I rarely stopped to take notes on the film. Emily the Criminal made me think about how I've always been averse to doing illegal stuff. I've just never wanted to be a criminal. Ever since I was a kid, I was a goody-goody. In fact, the only crime I can remember committing, and even getting caught, was shoplifting a picture of Steve Vai out of a magazine in Albertsons in Venice, Florida. It was a photo I had never seen and didn't have in my collection, so I tore the page out, stuck it in my shirt, and tried to walk out the door. And I was abruptly nabbed by a security guard. But my friend who was with me started raising heck with the guy and took all the heat off of me, and he ended up getting in trouble. So his mom came to get us and was forced to pay for the magazine, and she hung the photo on her fridge to punish me. And I felt like a bad person and never stole anything again. So I often wonder, why would anyone choose a life of crime? Because it's such a bad idea on the surface. Why would you ever do those things? But this film helps to explain how someone in the lower class can get sucked into it. It's like, hey, no big deal, just commit this very small crime. Shoplift from Best Buy just once. And then before you know it, just a few days later, you might be committing Grand Theft Auto. And another little observation, I liked how the film's title paid off in the scene where she meets her boyfriend's mom for the first time. It was highly, really, very well done. And all that criminal stuff aside, I identified with the situation of living in Los Angeles and trying to get a good job, but always being pushed down and treated as scum. And this film captures that distant F you energy that everyone seems to have in the big city. It's like, the more anonymous you can be, the worse you can treat others. And it reminded me of the desperation I felt as I tried to find a place to belong and be treated as a person. So I gave this film 5 out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. If you enjoyed this segment from the Carl King podcast, remember, you can also listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or through an old rubber hose.